I'd like to call this meeting to order for the Blackhawk County Board of Supervisors for October 3rd, 2023. Roll call, please, Mr. Vader.
Hall. Here. Little.
Here.
Schwartz. Here. Delka.
Here.
Leyland.
Here. Would everyone please join us for a moment of silence to reflect on our actions this morning? Thank you. Would you please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 1 is the agenda received as proposed or as amended. And I would like to ask the board for consideration of removing item 9C, which is the discussion and possible board action on the evidence processing storage facility. Just to delay it, I was hoping today to talk with the sheriff as well as Michelle and have the projects presented for the sheriffs. There have been some recent projects that they've had come to light, as well as some of the other ARPA projects, and just thought an update on that would be something to be desired, I guess, by all of us, so that we were current on it before taking any action on the evidence intake. And just from my own perspective, and not speaking for anyone else, just saying that was a difficult decision that we made. It went on for quite some time, and it wasn't really until we'd had the ISET assessment and we're faced with another $1 million project for IT. And I know that's come in less than $1 million, I believe, but I'd like some information on that. And then also because this week, there have been 2 applications submitted from the sheriff's office as well regarding IT projects. And they total, I think it's about $1.2 million. I could be incorrect on that amount, but about. So I'd just like to have, I guess, all the projects maybe brought an update to us and discussed, but I'm open to comments from the board for delaying that.
Yeah, I'm comfortable having a conversation with all of them at the same time, because these are some pretty high dollar amounts, and so I just want to make sure we're cautious about where we're at with everything and where all the different projects line up. But
Thank you. And yes, I was gonna say
Mr. Little's, I think, item,
it was.
if I recall, so if he's comfortable with it, I'm comfortable to delay, but.
Yeah, Linda, I guess I don't care. I would appreciate it if would have known about this ahead of time, because I was the one that put it on rather than just at the meeting time. I didn't fully expect any action today anyway. It was just more discussion for the board to ask questions from the sheriff's department to go along with the other projects that you were talking about. Is all I was looking for today. And again, I don't think we wanted any action. It was just mainly discussion, but I'd appreciate it in the future if another supervisor puts it on, at least give them a heads up prior that you're thinking about calling for this to be removed from the agenda instead of right at the meeting.
Well, I'm sorry, Tom, if that's something unexpected. I certainly know you've mentioned it at the last couple of meetings that you were encouraging the sheriff's department to put that on. And but as I recall, the request came from the sheriff to put it on. So I wanted all the board to hear, I guess, my reason. So that's why.
So is this
morning.
So is this going to go on next week then?
Well, I don't know. We need to see, I guess, when the update could be provided and see when the projects and all that information is available. I said I know there's an ARPA application, 2 of them that have been submitted. So they're also in the mix. So whenever that could be presented to us and have detailed information on that as well. So
I'm also fine to just not take board action, but I think it's perfectly, I mean, I see Mark's here, I see the sheriff's office here. I don't know if there's a whole lot else on the agenda that would bring them to the meeting. So I think out of respect for folks' time, I'm fine to have the discussion. I think this is gonna be a point, because of us foregoing some other funding that I think it might require us to have some out of the box thinking, and I think a discussion on it isn't necessarily harmful. If we delay taking an action, I think that's one thing, but I don't think having those discussions is ever a bad thing. And since we've got folks here in the room that came to have the discussion, I think it makes sense to honor their time to the issue.
I appreciate your opinion. Tom, were you saying you were all right to delay?
Well, I'd just soon we have the discussion today, because like Tava said, the people are there today. The board has been aware of some health issues that could be going on there. So delaying this and not even having another time frame, I guess I'm a little confused, because we've looked at other departments' individual projects rather than looking at their whole of all the things that they've done and what their requests are in the future. So I am not really sure what's going on here, but I think it doesn't hurt to have discussions, seeing that the sheriff's department is there today, the staff, and let them give us some additional information that'll help in the future. But I'm afraid it appears to me like this is going to be buried again or something. So no, I'd like to go ahead with discussion on it today.
And I'm sorry you think it was buried. I think we voted on it previously, but knew it could always come back up if it wanted to. So I don't know if I'd say buried was the correct term, but sure. And I do believe that the staff would probably be very willing to come back at another session when we talk about all the projects as well. I'm sure. So I don't know, Mr. Choka, you're online. If you have an opinion or thoughts on it, or if we should vote on this to take formal action, just to make certain we move on.
It doesn't matter to me whether we delay it or hear discussion, but I'm not prepared to take action. My fear at this point is other departments. We've got so much we can utilize this money for. I don't want to see other departments needs sacrificed for any other single department, not just the sheriff's office. But I do want to look at the projects collectively together so we can decide. I feel like public health isn't getting enough attention with this money. Public health in our small communities.
Well, I guess that I'd agree as far as looking at all the projects that we have probably coming forward. We need to do that. I know we did some discussion on it a couple of weeks ago, but I said for any pending projects or any projects that we think there should be increase in costs, I think we definitely need to be looking at some of those and trying to identify those as much as we can. So I appreciate what you're saying. Do we want to take action today then? I guess to see if there's to delay or not.
I think it's all right to move forward with discussion today.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with discussion. I don't think anybody's comfortable with action today. So I don't think there was any expectation of action today. So I think leaving it on the agenda, at least discussion, maybe removing possible board action for the sheriff's evidence processing. It's fine.
Okay, great. Well, when possible board actions put on, typically that means there is potential for that. So that's why discussion on this would have been a much clearer, probably route.
My intent on putting, and I did put it on after the sheriff's department requested, I okayed it to go on the agenda. My intention was clearly for informational today for the board, so they can ask questions both ways, sheriff's department and the board. It's a pretty large request to expect action, but it doesn't hurt anything when it says discussion, possible board action, possible. My intent was for discussion today.
Well, then we'll amend the item to say discussion.
It doesn't have to be. I mean, I think I've already heard most of the board members said they wouldn't take action on it.
Yes. Well, since I asked for an amended to it, I was just saying we'll clarify that now that that's what it'll be for. So thank you, Tom. We'll move on then for the agenda as received or amended.
So moved.
Second.
Well, we're gonna second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda is received. Public comments. Is there anyone in the audience today that would like to speak on something that is not on today's agenda? Good morning.
Supervisors. I was just coming
Could you
in.
give your name? and
Oh, yeah,
address?
Mayor Gaston from LaPorte City.
Thank you.
I was just coming in to touch base regarding the request we made almost a year ago. Regarding assistance with funding for our wastewater treatment facility in town. I was under the impression it was gonna be reviewed, discussed, and haven't heard any updates as if the county is willing to provide any funding. Originally, when I came in, we were expecting bids around 10 million. They came in closer to 12. Our loan is for 12 million. We were able to get almost $1 million in deducts from the company. But with contingencies, we have an SRF loan for $12 million, which means our residents' base fees, debt service and base fees combined by this time next year will be $100 of their bill, all base fees, no usage. So it's quite an increase, especially we have a lot of people that have fixed incomes. We're kind of an older community still. So it's harder for those people and people with little kids and small families to eat that whole cost. So I was just coming in to touch base to see if it was gonna be discussed again or put on an agenda. And go from there.
As you know, we don't do discussion during
Yeah.
public comments,
Yep.
but it is still on our list of projects.
Okay.
Thank you.
So was that 100 annually?
That'll be their monthly base
Okay.
fees. Yep, $25 will be their like your actual base fee, and $75 will be your debt service fee.
What's the current base?
I think we've adjusted a little bit. I think the base portion is at 18. And then the debt service, I think we're trying to do it incrementally so that it's not bam, $75. I think right now we're at 45. And then we're gonna raise it again in January and then by June, because by July, by the beginning of this fiscal year is when we have to be at the
Yeah.
75.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak on public comments? Anyone on Zoom that would like to speak today on public comments? Updates. All right, thank you. Item 3 is years of service awards to employees with 20 or more years of service.
Yes, today the board is recognizing an employee for 25 years of service. It's Lori Style from the treasurer's office. Like to come and get it.
We can get behind her and then she, yeah, we'll stand behind, why don't you, yeah.
Please,
You're gonna have to go. Now you gotta come this way. Here. There you go, all right. Oop. Look at it if you want.
All right, ready, 1, 2, 3. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
Thank you very much, as you're on your way out the door.
Here long enough.
Item 4, presentation, update from Mr. Patrick Snell with Grow Solar Cedar Valley.
And I did have before Patrick starts with his update, they've offered to kind of simplify the request to us because of where they're at in the project. And simply asking for if we are supportive of it, to be able to use our logo in some of their advertising communications on like Facebook and other places as they're advertising future events, and to have us possibly host an event at one of our buildings. So we've turned solar. I would think Pinecrest would be the one, and include a tour of what the county has done. With that, I'll turn it over to Patrick.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Mr.
And
Snell.
would it be helpful today? I have some slides to share. I can also just talk through the presentation. I didn't know what format would be better for today.
No, I mean, if that's all right with everyone, I think
Yeah.
everyone's fine with that, if you have something.
Okay, great. So I'll just share my screen. Okay, can you see the slides?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, so I'm Patrick Snell. I'm the Climate and External Affairs Associate for the Nature Conservancy in Iowa. And we've been working on these grow solar programs in counties across the state for for 6 years now. It's been a really great program, and we've had a great start launch to our Grow Solar Cedar Valley program. So I wanted to give an update on that and encourage again, we met back in June with the Blackhawk County Board of Supervisors. Really appreciate you giving me that time to speak about this program. And we're hoping to bring you on board again, as was mentioned, for in support of communication. And then if there is some synergy around a co-hosting of an event where we can talk about some of the work Blackhawk County has already done around solar, as well as promote the Grow Solar program. So these slides will be familiar from the time before, but I thought it'd be helpful just to go quickly back through it and then kind of an update of where we're at. So why the Grow Solar program? This is a no-cost program for Blackhawk County. It works through community education and economic opportunity to bring people together to participate in the program. It's a way to generate local enthusiasm around projects that you all have already invested in around solar energy, to talk through both the benefits of it and also the consumer safety side, what people should be looking for, how to work with their local city, the utility, what to look for, insurance, these other pieces that could be important as people are thinking about that decision. It's another tool in the economic toolbox to attract businesses. We're meeting with a lot of businesses in Blackhawk County through this program, especially smaller businesses who would be looking at that 5 to 15 kilowatt system. That's would be on the smaller side for a business where they wouldn't have the same economic scale as a large industrial user, but still might be interested being an owner of a coffee shop or a small business wanting to participate in this. And what the program is, it's just a program where homeowners and businesses can come together as a community to learn about, and if they're interested, install solar at reduced prices. So this program works to overcome two barriers, and I have them both listed here: that educational venue. And what we found recently is the solar industry, like a lot of other industries, there's some really good players out there, there's some not so good players out there, and a whole host of players in between. And so we have this education opportunity to say, this is what we look for as best practices for solar panels, for inverters, for reputable installers. These are the cost comparisons of what you'd expect to see in the market. This is where the technology is right now, where we see it's going. This is what you would look for with tax credits or other incentives that are available to residents, businesses, churches, anybody on that smaller scale who's thinking about solar. And then if they're interested, we just pool purchasing power for a bulk purchase. So instead of having one person go out and buy those solar panels, we say, what if we had 5, 10, 15, 100 people participate in this program? And from that, it's been really successful. I have a couple of case studies real quick to show as a comparison. We did this program called Solarize Waukee, and that was by Dallas County. That was a project we did just right before the pandemic, really successful. We had 260 people attend these free educational events all around Dallas County. And we had businesses like the Urban United Church of Christ and Willis Automotive, a small business, participate in this program, which led to 245 kilowatts of solar energy, or about $750,000 in private investment. Again, this is a great opportunity where it's a no-cost program, where we're just providing that educational resource to help spur local economic development, as well as learn about this clean energy option. In addition to this, a big thing for Waukee, which obviously we would want to have that partnership with Blackhawk County, is we had a lot of statewide local news stories connected to this. And so that can be a big highlight if you've worked on projects like you all have done around solar. We can now have another opportunity to talk about that work and talk about future projects related to clean energy developments or partnerships with the local utilities. Another example, and I put this one here because it's going to be probably more similar to the Grow Solar Cedar Valley program. We did this program in Lynn County, and you can see we had a whole host of different partners. We had Lynn County Conservation, we had Lynn County, a couple of cities, a couple of nonprofits, a conservation organization. And through that, we had 93 installations, or $1.6 million in private investment, and 404 people attending events. Right now, for the Grow Solar Cedar Valley program, we're really excited to have the partnership of, again, the Midwest Renewable Energy Association. They are the technical provider for solar installers if they want to be NABCEF certified. So that's North American Board of Certified Electrical Practitioners. Qualified installers in the state, they go through that process just as you would become a qualified electrician. Other process, you get those certifications, and that is the minimum in order to be a good kind of a gold standard for solar installers. So they do that technical assistance, as well as they are a partner on this program. We're also working with the city of Waterloo and the city of Hudson on this program. They've already hosted a couple of the educational events. It's been really great going around Waterloo and around Hudson to do those. In addition to those partners, we are also working with Heartland Habitat for Humanity, Green Iowa AmeriCorps, University of Northern Iowa Center for Energy and Environmental Education, and the Iowa Environmental Council, as well, of course, the Nature Conservancy, who I work with. So it's been a great partnership, and similar to this, we'd hope to bring on Black Hawk County with this, and in that modified ask, look at what we can do for promotion. So as you know, when we met early on in June, we were just finishing up the advisory team and issuing that request for proposal. And the way this program works, just real quick, is there's two real phases. There's the program setup and the outreach and education. So we had an advisory team come together. We had representatives from the city of Waterloo, the city of Hudson, University of Northern Iowa Center for Energy and Environmental Education, Nature Conservancy, and Midwest Renewable Energy Association, who went through an RFP process and had a lot of bids from different installers talk about what their credentials were and how they would service the area if they were selected. We did select an installer, Eagle Point Solar. I think Eagle Point Solar is also the same company who did work on your facility, so that obviously would be a great avenue if they were to if we were to host an event where they could talk about the project that they've already worked on and how they would work for residents and businesses in Black Hawk County. But right now, we've now moved on to the outreach and education phase. It's still a great opportunity for Black Hawk County to join on board to help host. But what essentially we'll be doing is hosting. We have 4 events scheduled and are hoping to put a couple more on the schedule for October, late October and November, where then people would learn about the program, learn about the installer, any other consumer safety information they need. And then if they're interested, it goes to that final phase, which I have in yellow, because this is just like any other individual going out and signing that contract with an individual installer. So as part of the group buy, we negotiate that volume discount, that price, which sets the price point for businesses and residents at that lower price, which is usually about 5 to 10% below the average market rate in the area. But at the end of the day, once they get that free site assessment and they decide to go with the installer, it just becomes like a normal contract, as if they went out on their own and selected that installer. So that's kind of the quick timeline. And then the ask again, and I've put it just that top one today in bold. This is our ask we had before initially in June. We're really just looking for that if you'd be interested in adding your logo to the list of partners we've already selected or are partnering with, and really to help us promote the event. You know, is there a email listserv that you could do a little feature of an event we have coming up? Do you have a communications person you can put me in connection with to help share this event on Facebook or other platforms? And then that last piece, if you are interested in co-hosting an event, do you have a facility where it would make sense to do that? So that was just the real quick abbreviated version, but I'd be open to any questions or comments. We'd love to have you participate. It's been a great program already, and it'd be good to have you join on board.
Thank you, Brad. So I do intend to put this on the agenda next week just to have us endorse and allow the use of the logo, and I would like to see us co-host an event with them. I believe we're the only, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're the only local government here that has turned 7 of our buildings completely solar. So I think it kind of looks funny to have us not endorsing this program. They've already done the work of vetting the vendors, and as I recall from our own vetting process, which was very extensive at the time, to sort between the different bids. I feel very comfortable that they ended up with Eagle Point Solar. Because at that time we were faced with a question between Eagle Point Solar and another company, whose name I won't mention, but that other company went bankrupt the next year. And so our extensive work that time led us to the right decision. And I think that they did too. So I think it's pretty above board and pretty reputable, and it'd be a great opportunity to highlight the solar investments that we've made as a county, because I don't think a lot of the public is generally aware of that.
Typically, and I don't know if this is something Chris, you or Patrick could answer, as far as the group sizes and the individuals that come out, whether from the community and the businesses, it look like your combined efforts. What's a typical size of meeting room or group that you would need to accommodate?
Yeah, our average size is about 15 to 20 people, so it's not a large crowd, but yeah, 15 to 20 people.
Are they evening meetings for the most part, or?
It depends. We're doing some events with Rotary and Lions Club that are like the lunchtime, but most of them are around 6 o'clock at night.
Are there programs like that as far as us we could assist you with too, as far as the outreach, or maybe there's many that you've already done?
Yeah, so we have quite a few events that are on the schedule already, and so if there would be one that, even if you would just want to be a co-host of, that would be great. We have a few, one that's hosted by Single Speed Brewing that's coming up. They also have solar on their building. That could be a good one. That could be a promotional. We are also doing some with forgetting the name of the nature center, but the Blackhawk County Conservation buildings. And that would be a good one to partner with if you wanted to be a co-partner. And especially just connecting with the communications person on your team. That's a big thing for us, is we can bring together all the partners, but we really got to raise the awareness, to get that turnout to these events.
And we are interestingly actually in the process of hiring a communications person.
Yeah. We can still do it now, or do what we can.
Patrick, is there a list of the events that you've currently got scheduled somewhere?
There is, yes, it's on our website, and I can share it after the meeting, maybe, if that would be helpful. Or...
That'd be great. Yeah, something to look at and see if there were some to add to it. That'd be great. Thank you. Now, that one question I had for you, Chris, and I know that maybe this was generated with Patrick, was the proclamation. We typically do proclamations a little bit differently than what was proposed, was with resolutions on what our activity or participation would be. Was there a reason for putting it in the proclamation, or
that was just the boilerplate proclamation that was sent by Patrick's colleague.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if that was, because that was a little unusual for our typical proclamation. Are those done a variety of ways, Patrick, or have they just been pretty much the template that you forwarded?
Yeah, we try to give a host of different options, because it, being really a community driven program, we find that some counties, they want to do a proclamation and add in a bunch of stuff so they can have like a more formal process. And then other counties we've worked with, like in Warren County, it was just yep, we're ready to support this. And I don't even think they voted on it, but they just connected us with a communications person. So we try to give the full list of options for whatever people want.
Sure. Okay, thank you. That helped. Are there any other questions or comments, or?
So I'll be putting something modified on the agenda for next week. But if there's any questions, Patrick and I will try to answer those between now and then.
Great.
And I don't know if I should
Yes.
speak here, but real quick, is there any kind of agreement they enter into with with a public governmental subdivision. When they do this kind of thing, I know, and this is technicality, I realize that, but for example, if they're using our facilities, there's a procedure they go through that can be done without a separate agreement. I realize that, but do they enter into these agreements when they partner with a local government?
Did you hear the question, Patrick?
Yeah, that's a good question. That kind of depends. A lot of the time, when we're using space, it ends up being there isn't that agreement or issue. It's kind of the same as like checking out a space, hosting a space at the library where it is a public space. But we often don't have those type of agreements, but would be very open to signing something if there was like a conditional use agreement or something like that.
I think what I would propose doing is having the Alternative Energy Committee co-host an event with Grow Cedar Valley or Grow Solar Cedar Valley. Probably at the Pinecrest building, but have it be that members of the committee are also participating in the organizing of that.
And I think those, the concerns that I expressed over this, I think those resolve those concerns then, because it's not this necessarily an ongoing partnership. Board's got to be comfortable with the use of the logo, however, and you know, what types of promotion are going to be done. I think if I understand Patrick correctly, the idea here is to put it on their promotional websites, their promotional materials. I wouldn't look at a number of them, and if it's nothing beyond that, I don't know that the county would have any concerns on that kind of thing. I assume there's probably some, you know, handouts or things like that it could be on as well.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. That's right. It'll just be on. We'd like to list, you know, all the logos together as a way to add credibility to the program. And I should say, for where we are on timing, if that is a hurdle, our real ask for today would be looking at doing the promotion the most. You know, so if there's ways that even if Blackhawk County just wanted to share it on Facebook or again through an email listserv or something like that, getting that awareness is kind of our highest priority now. And the logo is just something that I think would be beneficial. We have a lot of cities in the area in Blackhawk County that are supporting it. So it would be a great plus and we would really love it. But I think on priority, and especially where we are, it'd be great to get some promotion and some stories out there to the public.
Anything else? No.
No, I think I don't have any, if folks have any other questions, but we'll definitely be taking action on this next Tuesday.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Thank you for delaying it for the presentation today. It's been helpful. So thank you. Thank you very much, Patrick. Item number 5, claims and payments. Resolution that the Board of Supervisors approve expenditures and the county auditor be authorized and directed to issue checks against the various settlement of such claims as allowed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, Ms. Wiener.
Good morning, board. Our total bill payments today are $332,023.38. And we're also paying from the 60/40 fund, $1,045.66. Couple of larger payments in here, annual maintenance on the Tyler Technology Property Tax System software, that's $71,538.73. And we're also making a payment on the Hickory Hills wastewater treatment project of $68,145.40. Everything appears to be in order. If you have any questions,
Thank you. Hearing none, please answer. Your name is called.
Paul,
Yes.
Little,
Yes,
Gord,
Yes.
Elka,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item number 6, receive project updates from department heads and elected officials.
Good morning, board. Kathy Nicholas, County Engineer. I want to give an update on our bridge construction projects. The Dunkerton Road Bridge project, the deck pour will likely be tomorrow. There's a pre-pour meeting today, I believe. So once that deck is cured and the construction traffic is allowed back on it, work will then take place underneath the bridge. So it's gonna look like why isn't the bridge open? Because the two beams on the exterior beams on going the length of the bridge, those need to be painted now. And so work will shift from the top of the deck to the underside of the bridge, and this will take several weeks for our subcontractor to do that repainting of those beams. So please be patient with us, I would ask the public. And then our Rice Road Bridge, there's a pour going on, I believe today or tomorrow. And then we'll get some beams set probably next week. So work is going well on both bridges. Just be patient with us. Can I answer any questions at this time? Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
Good morning, Board.
Morning.
Sheriff Thompson. Captain Neff wanted me to advise you that he's gotten now all the returns on the background checks for the jail medical RFP responses. And he should have the recommendations from the subcommittee out to you tomorrow, and he'll probably be requesting that be put on next week's board agenda for discussion and possible action.
Thank you.
Morning. HR Director Amanda Fesmer. I just want to give a quick update. We had a lot of inquiries about the classification and compensation study, so we are nearing the end of that. We've got about a 2-hour work session with the consultant this afternoon. Have a lot of the union members, requesting that in time for negotiations. There's still plenty of time for us to get that presentation to the board first. That's kind of been my response generally, that I don't have any data to release at this point until after it's been presented to the board. But I wanted to give you all this little update, kind of let you know where we're at. Right now, it's really taking in all of the data that was first brought in from fiscal year 23, updated with fiscal year 24 pay rates, and reviewing the job classifications from the PDQs that staff completed. Really kind of have a comprehensive schedule, even though we have several schedules with the unions and the non-bargaining group. So, but we hope to have that committee here meeting soon, and then the information going to the board following the committee meeting. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, Board.
Morning.
Caitlin Emmerich with Public Health. I just want to give a quick update on some workforce things we have going on. As you know, we've kind of struggled with workforce. The whole public health sector nationwide struggles with workforce. So this is something I've been paying attention to. I have the opportunity to attend a governmental public health job task analysis committee, October 19th through 21st in Washington, D.C. with 20 of my peers nationwide. At that job task analysis committee, it's a long name, we will be developing a survey instrument for broad distribution across the governmental public health workforce that will assess the frequency in which various job tasks are performed and the criticality of those tasks. The analysis will provide the evidence base for establishing essential job functions, job descriptions, and job goals that are needed to ensure effective supervision and performance evaluation, which in turn will support decision-making around governmental public health workforce hiring, promotion, training, education, and credentialing. I was nominated for this task force by a colleague of mine that works for a national public health organization. And so I'm really excited to participate in it and kind of bring perspective from Iowa to this task force. I'm the only representative from Iowa, and I think I might be the only representative from the Midwest. So I'm really excited for that. And kind of in addition to those workforce efforts, we are currently working on updating our workforce development plan, incorporating some national models into that. The National Association of County and City Health Officials has a Joy in Work toolkit. We're incorporating some of the frameworks from that toolkit into our workforce development plan, as well as the Surgeon General's report on mental health and well-being of the workforce that came out not too long ago. I think about a year ago, that advisory report was issued. So those are some of the things we're doing around workforce.
I'd like to congratulate Caitlin as well on accepting the position of director.
Yes.
We're very excited and appreciative.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm gonna, I think that our board chair, Dr. Pilkington is gonna be here next week. So I will kind of defer that conversation until next week if I can, but thank you very much.
It's official presence, yes, but congratulations to you and to us. So thank you very much. It's very fortunate. Anyone else? Anyone on Zoom that would like to do an update? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 7, minutes approved for September 26, 2023.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, minutes are approved. Item 8, consent agenda. The following items will be acted upon by a single resolution unless there's something someone wishes to have removed for discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Great. Please answer as your name is called.
Little,
Yes.
Schwartz, yes, Jelka,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes. Item 9, other business, resolution that the tax sale certificate assignment for vacant lot Russell Toothman trustee in Washburn Water System pursuant to 446.31 of the Code of Iowa be approved, and said certificate of purchase of tax sale be assigned to Tim and Kim Moore as recommended by Linda Hinsman, Blackhawk County Treasurer.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Does anyone wish to speak to this, Linda? Or, oh, I was gonna say, Tim would be great.
Morning.
Good morning.
Tim Moore, 301 Pine Street.
Mhm.
Yeah, we were just, that building's been sitting there about 20, it's the old pump station, 20-25 years. Trees are growing around, it's got a fence, we just want it for the building, maybe put another building on it. I don't know if they'll let us, but that's why we want it.
We're going through the process to see if that works. Okay.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Are there any questions? Oh, Linda? Yes.
Linda Hinsman, treasurer. I also want to add to that as that, Mr. Little had reached out to me with concerns by approving this assignment. He just wanted to make sure that the Moores were aware that we weren't saying that they could put a building there, that they'll still, once they take deed to this property, we'll still need to go through the proper channels at that point to see if they will be able to put a building there or not. So I just kind of wanted to add to that.
Sure. And you're aware of that. And so we're good. All right.
Yep. No more unpermitted garages and.
Or other. Okay, if there are no further questions or comments as to the resolution, please answer as your name is called.
Schwartz, yes, Jelka,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes. Item B, resolution that the suspension requested by Angela Talaska on taxes owed for 2023/24 installments in the amount of $896 for parcel 871225 461,005 be approved pursuant to 427.8 of the Code of Iowa, and the county treasurer Linda Hinsman be authorized and directed to adjust her records accordingly.
So moved.
Second.
And moved and seconded. Any questions, comments? Linda's here. Hearing none, please answer as your name is called.
Schwartz, yes, Jelka,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes. Moving on to item C, discussion on the sheriff's evidence processing and storage facility. I believe, is that Sheriff Thompson? Or you're going to speak to this, or is Mark here? I can't.
Oh, here.
Oh.
I guess
Or not. Or someone else is gonna speak to it.
I've got one question to start the conversation. Do the,
Mhm.
for this to work well, do the lab and the storage part need to be in the same location?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just wondering about this addition on the JCS building we've bought. There's like the office area that we discussed about what that could be used for, and I'm not sure if that's a viable space for any part of this, but.
What we have found, and we've talked a little bit, Rory and I have talked a little bit, what we found is retrofitting, particularly the HVAC piece with HEPA filtration and all of that, oftentimes becomes more costly as opposed to just building it outright to begin with.
Okay.
I can't speak to that specifically because we haven't looked at that building. We haven't looked at their infrastructure whatsoever, but every time we started going down that road, we found that we were spending more money trying to retrofit what needs are necessary for all the filtration that your insurance companies are telling us are necessary to make something like that work.
The interesting thing that might come up as we have this discussion is that I don't think Rory's around the corner. Around this corner. Is that building gonna need a new system anyways? So it might not be retrofitting as much as making sure the system is up to snuff.
If you recall, when we originally started the conversations about that building, that is one of the items that we are looking at replacing would be the HVAC system. So that facility is roughly 12,500 square feet, and I believe the south side, the separate portion of the main warehouse is roughly 4,500 square feet, if I'm not mistaken. So it's kind of split between warehouse space, open warehouse space, and then that south side, which I believe is about 4,500 square feet.
So 4,500 on the south side, 12,500 total?
Total, yes. And so the HVAC system would be primarily servicing that 4,500 square foot section on the south side. Again, we haven't been in there yet. This is kind of a blank canvas for us as far as what we can do with the HVAC system. Beyond that, it also includes a sprinkler system, a fire alarm system that we're looking at putting in, upgrading the electrical. So yeah, we do have a pretty healthy list to get that building up to our standards. So.
Any update on that while we're on the subject?
Unfortunately, we are still waiting for the abstract for that. So we have not received that yet, but again, I believe once we do have that abstract in our hands, the closing process can be turned around fairly quickly. But unfortunately, that has yet to happen. So any other questions on that building or? Okay, thank you.
Were you thinking of like possibly co-locating?
Or just, I don't know. I mean, look, back in April when we discussed this thing, we had a gaming grant for $200,000. Now this is back. The gaming grant required us to be a little bit more swift with our action. Now that we frankly piddled away that money, if we're gonna now reconsider this, which I think there's value in the facility. I thought there was value then. I think there's value now, but I do think there's some more time to do some due diligence on retrofitting existing buildings, to look at all of our cards. At that point, it made, I thought, the most sense to go with the plan that was presented, but without that 200,000 from gaming, I think we've got some time to just explore.
Yeah, I think we do. I think we talked about exploration, I think before previously too, as far as a potential of if we could share with Waterloo, looking at that being an option, that they had a building and maybe there was something we could do to co-locate like our equipment and them, and maybe a 2080 agreement or anything like that. Is that something that would even be a discussion you'd want to have with them? Or
we're willing to have that conversation. The problem is there's no money there. So it's a bit of a challenge. All three large agencies in the county are in the same predicament. Nobody has a facility that meets the requirements. The difference being that the sheriff's office has been told to stop by the insurance companies.
Mhm.
So we're kind of in a unique situation in that our investigators have been stalled where theirs have not yet. So,
and Tony, if you could share with the board the issue that recently came up, that you shared with me.
So we've got a couple of different pieces of equipment right now. We've got a vehicle from a 39-year-old female that had a suspicious death that we've been waiting for the final autopsy report before we do something with it, hoping that the autopsy report comes back something other than suspicious in nature. That way we don't have to hermetically seal that vehicle in some sort of wrap. Then find a transport that can enclose that vehicle, transport it to another location, unwrap the vehicle, treat it in a suitable, process it in a suitable location, then rewrap that vehicle back. Basically, again, shrink wrapping it, and then transporting it back to the tune of several thousands of dollars. Just to be able to do what we're forensically required to be able to do to produce the evidence for court. That's one. We also have an ATM machine that just sits there. So we're kind of at a standstill. And the board's made it clear to us that our job is operational, your job is financial. So here we sit telling you that we can't do our job. We've made that abundantly clear. Your Baker Tilly advisors made that clear to you. Now both of your insurance companies have made that clear to you, both IMWCA and ICAP. So we're stuck and we need your help. So it's not that we want to build a brand new building. We want to be able to do what we're required operationally to be able to do. Because we are the LaPorte City investigative arm. We are the Gilbertville investigative arm. We are the Dunkerton investigative arm. We are the Hudson investigative arm. So all of those processes that we have to be able to do to be able to conclude investigations, we cannot do without considerable amounts of additional effort and expense. So right now we wait.
Previously, the lab is kind of a new addition to our project going forward, at least to this extent, correct?
No,
This was something that we did in the current facility now?
this is something that we did up until the point where they said, what you're doing is not safe.
Yes. And that was, like, say, we need running water and some of the things like that, and exhaust systems and that type of thing. They said to make that
Correct.
accommodate that. So. And without those, then we would be jeopardizing the health of individuals.
Correct.
It was very much something you need to consider.
Is that the complete list of the communities that we're the investigative arm for?
So every community other than Cedar Falls and Waterloo.
Okay.
In Blackhawk County.
Okay.
And this type of facility, if we built it, we would be using that type of facility for everybody in Northeast Iowa. It would be a hub that, again, people would transport to because of the way we built it.
So did the insurance companies and ICAP not go visit this facility previously? Because it appeared to me that it's probably we were jeopardizing people then previous to this.
Correct.
They were just called in last year.
Correct. As soon as we got stuck, we asked for assistance on what should we do? What do we need to do to meet the needs and criteria? That's when the staff that was working on this facility pulled them in to say, what steps do we need to do to mitigate this?
And we have a
And that's
report
when
on
it
that.
got ugly.
Mhm. And we do have that report still on file.
Correct. Yeah, it started with your Baker Tilly report and then it just kind of steamrolled from there. Or your Baker Tilly assessment, whatever you call that.
Well, yeah, okay. I was gonna say, I know we talked about the project prior to even having ARPA dollars, correct?
You actually approved it prior to Baker Tilly.
Put it on the list of our project.
You actually approved it.
I'm not disputing it, just can't.
Then
say
you
I do have
accused
the
Mark
dates. I
of-
don't have the dates for that, if we did. Well, I know we did put it on the list of projects, Tony, to be very honest with you, as we did other projects and had to put some in hold. And it sounds like we'll have other projects, it sounds like that are gonna be still competing for those dollars too, so we have some decisions to make. Thank you.
So, you said that Cedar Falls and Waterloo could be in the same position. It could be a matter of time.
Right, it's not our job to throw them under the bus with us. They're just in the same positions because immediately, obviously, we reached out to them as partners and said, hey, how are you doing what we are trying to accomplish? And they said, we're in the same boat as you, because we wanted to be able to use their facilities to continue to do the work that we needed to do. And we can't because they're using the same techniques, they're using the same facilities without the same types of filtering and venting and those kinds of things.
Is there, you didn't sense a desire or that they had backing to?
They didn't jump up
go
and
in
say,
on
hey,
something.
we'll come right in and we'll throw money at it too. No.
Right.
Well, that was something we talked about previously about a cost share as far as parties that would be
Absolutely.
utilizing it. That was something that we could.
Absolutely.
We did, and as I recall from that meeting in April. Quite frankly, I asked us to pump the brakes for at least a week to facilitate some of those additional conversations. And we ended up turning down the 200,000 for gaming anyways.
Gaming had a date they had to have the decision.
Correct, and we were shy of that date. I'll admit, I'm floored that we're back here having this conversation after turning our back on $200,000 for the exact same projects. I don't get it. I'm supportive of the project, but it's frustrating that the same project is on our plate, and we've got less tools to make it happen, but
Davis, we're offended that when it was presented to the Gaming Association, it was actually implied that we somehow fabricated the approval from this board.
No,
It absolutely was.
No, Tony.
It absolutely was.
Well, I know.
So,
that, because I would have been the person
that's
that
offensive.
thought it, and it would
And
be
so where we sit today is right in the same camp as you. This project went from 1.7 million to now we're asking for 1.2 million. So we threw a dart at a dartboard to say, what could we accomplish? Is that so? It's actually a $2.9 million project. Watch this money flip flop and walk away.
Well, it was.
And my staff has been offended. Their integrity has been violated. Their honor has been questioned. That's why I don't have my staff standing here now.
Well, that was never.
I won't put
intended.
them through it.
But I find it offensive what you're saying now too, because that's not true.
It absolutely is
It
true.
is not true.
We can pull anyone from that board, anyone from that meeting.
And hear what that was made up and fabricated.
Linda, I am absolutely as transparent as they come.
Yes, I know.
Absolutely as transparent as they come, as honest as the day is long.
Oh, let's not even go into this personality kind of.
We certainly can.
Yes, we certainly can, and let's not go there.
Why?
well,
If we're gonna question integrity, let's question integrity.
Yes, but let's not make statements.
That are not true?
Yes. Let's not make statements that are not true, so let's just leave it at that. This isn't the forum for.
The
I
veracity
can certainly
of my
do what you
statement
want.
can be checked.
So you, yes. Well, the veracity of mine can be checked as well.
so as we get back to the evidence process, sorry to interrupt.
Don't be.
Tom, you had indicated some level of support or interest, or at least wanted to bring this back up in some previous meetings. I think if you could sort of talk about your perspective on the issue, that would be helpful.
Yeah, my biggest concern is over the years as a county supervisor, I was always told and taught that if the board is made aware of a liability situation, and I'll give you an example. I believe the county engineer come and said that the grade of steel we had on our bridges, the approach, the railing there was insufficient. They changed the guidelines and it was in need to change it immediately. We did it. We're hearing now that we can't do our job out there in Blackhawk County because of the health concerns. And we've been made aware of that. So my major concern is if in fact we're going to continue to do that business, we have to address the health concerns. I understand ARPA money is getting down there. We may have to go into reserves, and we may have to go into unrestricted reserves. I don't know what kind of a price tag you put on health concerns. I appreciate that they scaled back the project to 1.2 million. And to be honest with you, I think we either are going to do it or we aren't going to do it. But I was kind of disappointed when I heard we were gonna delay it again today and try to get more information. I've heard that so much. And I think the board needs to make sure they have all the information that they need and deserve, and then just make a decision on it. That way the sheriff's office can decide how they're going to do that in the future. And I guess it's to ship it someplace. And that could get to be pretty costly too. So, I'm not saying it's an easy subject, but yes, I'm in favor of doing something. And that's the main reason that I had discussion with the sheriff and Mark Herbst and to bring this back. And they were hesitant because of all the stuff that went on. So yes, I am very interested that we move somehow and use available funds that we've got, whether it be the unrestricted reserves or the reserves itself. And maybe potentially we can send a letter to neighboring Waterloo and Cedar Falls to see if they would like to participate.
Okay, Counselor, is there, you mentioned that this facility would potentially be utilized by entities throughout Northeast Iowa. Is there any kind of income potential that comes from places outside of this jurisdiction using it?
I can't imagine a way of doing that where we would be able to charge a fee for that. For example, if we right now had to take that vehicle someplace else, I would be hard pressed to pay a fee to Marion Police Department or North Liberty to utilize their facility to process it.
Okay. It's just not what's done.
That's just not the way that's done.
Okay.
Our fees, our costs would be associated with the shipping and the time associated with having to hermetically seal that vehicle up.
And then the question also is, those facilities, I'm assuming, are processing their own evidence in their surrounding areas, that time factor, which would kind of hold the whole lineup as far as the courts and so forth. So I don't know. It's a very delicate situation, but I do think that we need to make a decision on it. And I appreciate the board for having discussion today.
As do I.
Tony, when you and I talked, I think it'd be good for the board to hear as well. I asked the question about, cost sharing, right? If can the other entities, pitch in for this project? You had sort of outlined a little bit that, it probably doesn't quite work that way because of some other.
So right now, the way it works in our county is we don't have a cell phone recovery expert. It's costly. Waterloo does. But we will donate our time, our SWAT team, our investigators for responses in exchange for their cell phone recovery expert and his time. So Cedar Falls has a handwriting exemplar expert. So that's the way they donate and throw their expertise into the gene pool. Canines, those kinds of things where we all kind of just share resources to make sure that we are equally dividing up the pot. So not everybody, bears the burden of all of that at the same time. This facility would be one that would be manned and staffed not by additional personnel. It would be manned and staffed by the investigators of each of those agencies. So the three large agencies that have dedicated investigators would be the ones that would staff that, would run that, would manage the processes that happen within that forensic lab. But somebody has to step up and build it. Somebody has to outfit it. Somebody has to provide the resources to make it happen. And I think at this point, we're the ones in the most dire need.
Yeah, that type of cross jurisdictional shared resource sounds like a great gaming application. just saying, I don't understand what changed. I do think having some further discussion about the facility needs, the square footage needs, I think we could exhaust, I understand there was some discussion early on about whether to retrofit a building or to build new. Now that we've got this building within close proximity to the sheriff's office, it sounds, if I recall, about the same square footage. And that building's gonna need some HVAC anyways, and so maybe I think there's at least some conversation in that due diligence in this process as we turn over the stones to make it work, because I don't think it's right that, frankly, families of victims might have to wait another couple weeks for some level of closure to understand what the hell happened. And victims themselves, it's not just deaths. There are really sad stories of what happens to people in cars. And victims of crime, whether it's family or the victims themselves, and for us to delay that process further, and frankly, that process of healing further, it's frustrating. So, yeah, I hope that you and Rory, your folks and Rory, can connect, explore that option, maybe continue conversations with the city of Waterloo and Cedar Falls, who they would also utilize this facility if it were built in that shared resource concept. Yeah.
Any other questions for me?
Just under the scaled back proposal, is it the size that we're going to need for the foreseeable future?
No, you saw in that Stephen Davis email, it cuts it back to about 25%. This is a pole building, so basically what you do is we've built it as large as a manufactured truss is built. And so you just start removing trusses. So the building is scalable. You just keep adding trusses out. And so what we're doing is just accordionally taking trusses out.
I would like to see a tangible investment from Waterloo and Cedar Falls. If we can formally enter some sort of discussion with them, because a consolidated facility would be ideal. They have the same need. I would like to see a tangible investment from both the communities.
You know as well as I do, Dan, that they won't. They don't have the same impetus that we do because they haven't been called on it yet. So they can continue to do exactly what they're doing now.
And even if that call were to come, we still have this part of our equation in this shared toolbox is this facility, right?
Correct.
So to say, share all the other stuff, but you guys are also gonna share the cost of this one piece, but we're gonna borrow your cell phone recovery person, we're gonna, right, like that starts to get a little. Yeah.
Any more questions for Tony? Comment? Any from Tom or Dan as well? Any more questions?
I just hope that we can do something one way or the other and not come back here 3 months from now, 2 months from now, and be talking about it again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 10, is any reports or information from the board?
We'll be back in person as Supervisor Hall again.
Appreciate it.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
He was doing that spirit.
Little clicky over here on this,
For sure. Dan or Tom, any items?
No, thank you.
All right. moving on to item, the last item, motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Moved and second, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.